there, everyone. Thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about The Castle School for Troubled Girls by Alyssa Scheinmel. I have to say, I'm proving to be a huge fan of Scheinmel's writing because she does take a lot of young adult contemporary, but she really delves into mental wellness and mental health. And in this novel, it follows Moira. She's sent off to a boarding school. She thinks it's because she got a tattoo, but it's because her parents are ultimately worried about her. Her best friend, her only friend in the world, died of brain cancer, and she feels absolutely alone now. She's grieving. I was going to say really, really sad, but that sounds stupid. She's grieving. And it kind of breaks your heart when you're reading it because you understand that kind of grief where she's coming from. But she's not letting anyone in. She's not letting her parents in. She's not letting any classmates in. She's skipping school. She's just disappearing from the world. And I don't think her best friend would have wanted that. I think what he really would want her to do is just to continue living her life and not feel so locked in this state of utter despair. So she's sent off to this boarding school, and she's there with 11 other girls. Now, what I think is really interesting about this story and the direction of the story is all these girls suffer from something else. You have drug addicts, kleptomaniacs, you have self-harmers, girls with eating disorders. And what I really appreciate of Scheinmel's writing is the fact that she delivers a message to the reader that nothing is wrong with you, and it's okay to ask for help. And that's what a lot of the girls in this novel do. About half of them ask for help. Half of them ask for help, and the other half of them don't really see anything wrong with who they are. But when you're hurting yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically, there is something wrong. And I like how Scheinmel approaches this tough topic, because it is a tough topic. Mental health awareness is always tough because you never want to write it like it's stereotypically portrayed on TV. You want to give a real world interpretation of it, that real people suffer from these kind of things. I myself suffered through high school. I was a self-harmer, so I think it's really, a lot of the time I think we're afraid to ask for help. And I like that some of these girls do ask for help. I do think it is captivatingly well written. It is emotional, it is thoughtful, it is compelling. And more than that, it's just an incredible story about learning how to deal with grief, learning how to continue living when someone you loved has passed on, learning how to stop hurting yourself, learning how to love yourself, because that's another issue with these girls. Some of them don't love themselves, and I think that that's really interesting. And I love that Scheinmel has really focused in on these things that people tend to just ignore or not pay attention to or pretend they don't even exist. She has highlighted them and given them depth, especially with the progression of the story. So the story is written in a way that it mainly follows Moira, but what's really interesting is there are segments breaking up the story about each girl and about what they're going through and how they ended up at the Castle School for Troubled Girls. I liked those inserts because it really gives you depth. It really gives you insight into who these girls are And the thing is, these are girls you could easily recognize. They could be your best friend, they could be a classmate, they could be a family member. They can easily be someone that you know, and that's what I liked about it. The relatability of this story and the emotional impact it has on the reader to highlight mental illness and mental health and highlight the importance of asking for help, the importance of having friends, the importance of having a community to go to when you feel like you can't go to anyone else. That's what I liked about this story. The sense of community that flourished between these girls and their doctor. At first, he's a dude. You're like, how can this dude help these girls? But honestly, I like his method of helping the girls much more than his wife's method of helping boys. I don't think she's a good doctor, to be perfectly honest. But I think he's a fantastic doctor because he's not talking down to these girls. He treats them as patients, but he also treats them as real human beings, and I loved that aspect of the story. I really did. Whereas the mom, she's just like, I'm just gonna let the boys act out, blah blah blah, because that's what they need. No, because there is a school in the book, the Castle School for the Troubled Boys. But I prefer his teaching method to hers because he really does help. He is helping these girls, and that's what I really like about the story. How aware it is of real life issues, how thoughtful and compelling it is. I can't stress that enough. This is easily going to be one of my top favorite books of this year because it's emotional, because it's realistic, because it's thoughtful and compelling, and man, it was just an excellent novel. I can't stress that enough. I think it's a good novel to highlight big issues, complicated issues that I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about. But when you're reading this novel, you're not afraid to talk about them. You are inspired to form a sense of community with other people who you think are going to understand, who might understand. There's nothing wrong with opening up, and that's what I like about this. That's the core of this message. There's nothing wrong with opening up to other people and creating the sense of community with others. So this was The Castle School for Troubled Girls by Alyssa Sheinmel. I have to give it 5 stars. It was just absolutely spectacular. I loved it. I really, really did love it. I think it is breathtaking. I think it's so well written. I think it's expertly constructed. The pacing is, you are on a journey with these girls, and it is an emotional journey that I don't think anyone will regret reading. So on that note, please purchase this book from your local bookseller. Please try to avoid purchasing it off of Amazon. Support bookstores wherever you can. If money's tight, support your library by checking this book out from your local library. And I hope on that note, you all will continue to support me by liking this podcast, subscribing to it, and sharing it with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.